Um, Hello to anyone watching this. My name is Seth Cardinal Dodginghorse. I grew up on the Tsuut'ina Nation, which is um, I was raised by my grandma here. My grandma's name is Ethel Jacobs, and she also grew up on the land here. And I feel very fortunate because during the pandemic, I've been able to spend a lot of time with her, more than usual, because she lives in the house next door. So we spend a lot of time together and have watched a lot of movies, especially this summer. And so I'll share a little presentation and kind of talk about some of the work that I'm doing for the PAN. And yeah, I think this year has been probably the strangest year of the pandemic so far for myself. I feel like so many things, being stuck at home and everything, have really affected the pace at which I make art and how much art I make, and kind of every aspect of my life. I feel like more than usual. And yeah, I'll kind of talk a little bit about some of the things that I've been working on. So this is a Super 8 film cartridge. Might be hard to see. The lighting in my house is really weird at this time. But I've been filming with my Super 8 camera, which I have right here. It's pretty big, but I think this camera was made in the 80s, and it shoots Super 8 film, which is some like older folks might know what it is, but I know that some younger people don't know what it is at all. And it's essentially just like an old school video camera that shoots onto film, and it looks really beautiful. And so this whole spring and summer, and I guess fall now, I've been filming kind of like everything in my daily life for a while. And unfortunately, I'm still filming, so I haven't gotten the film back yet. So I'm going to be describing some of the things that I filmed and have been documenting. So you're not really going to be able to see any of it, but hopefully you can imagine it. So I'll get started with presenting some photos I've taken this year. So right here, this is a photo I took of Waterton. On my dad's side, I'm Blackfeet. I'm Skapi Pagani. My dad is from the Blackfeet tribe, and I feel like this year I've gotten to spend a good amount of time on Blackfeet and Blackfoot land and land within the Blackfoot Confederacy, and to really connect with the land. I'm used to spending a lot of time on Tsuut'ina, and so I feel like this year I've gotten to spend a lot of time out on the land, not just on Tsuut'ina and Calgary area, but more in different parts of Alberta and even in the States, which I'll talk about later. And so this year, I feel like this year, because of the pandemic and a lot of things that have changed in my life, there have been a lot of people within my community and also in my family that have passed away this year. So I've had to really focus on taking care of my health and my mental health and my physical well-being. So I tried to put a lot of effort into taking vacations and taking time off and doing a lot more with my life than just being stuck inside and making art, but actually going out and even filming. And so these are some this is a photo I took of also in Waterton. I went horse riding with my little brother and my partner, and their friend took us on this horse trail that we basically went around the mountains in Waterton and went up it for a day, and it was really nice and relaxing. And I filmed some of the land in Waterton as well, which will be on the Super 8 film when I'm done filming it. And this is a photo I took in a museum in Ontario, and these are pieces of a buffalo bone, and I believe they're the shoulder bone, because they're really porous, and you can see paint pigments on them. And these were tools used up until even the early 1900s. These were used to paint onto hides. And kind of for my project for this residency, it's really changed a lot. I've had so many ideas, and a lot of them I've had to scale back on because I thought about like spending a lot of time possibly going into museums and different things, but because of so many things in my personal life related to the pandemic and everything, I've had to really focus on taking care of my health. And so I thought I took this photo in the museum, and I thought that these were really beautiful. And I'm hoping one day through research that I've done in museums for probably 4 years now, that I can hopefully these things can be put back to use and be returned to people within Sutuna and my community, and that people can paint with these once again. Because I believe that these were collected in the 1920s, so they were being used up until the 1920s, and now they're in a museum. And I've talked to other elders about it, and a lot of elders feel that these things should be put into use again. And this is the same museum in Ontario, and this is a beaded moss bag. I took this photo and the photo of the shoulder bones used for painting. I took these photos in, when did I take these? I think I took these at the beginning of August. And my mom had has an art show that just opened, I believe, in Toronto. And me, my partner, my sibling, and my mom drove down to Ontario to install her work, and we made some stops along the way. And it's really tricky traveling in the pandemic now, and we try our best to be safe, and we try and pick hours at which these places won't be super busy. And everything in our daily lives for pretty much everyone has changed so much. When I first came to this museum, I was able to look in their collections, and this time arranging things, it's a lot harder to do on the fly. This is a moss bag that I believe was beaded by my great great grandmother. Her name was Winnie Crowchild, and there are a few elders on the reserve that had moss bags beaded by them that are beaded in the similar style and the way her stitching is and everything. And this moss bag belonged to my great great grandmother's sister, Bessie Crowchild. And I looked at the records and was able to make these connections. So, and then I looked at the stitching and the way the beads are arranged, the way the flowers are filled in, everything lines up with how my great great grandmother, made her art and beaded, and that's how people in my family still bead. And so it makes sense that it would be hers. I'm still trying to solidify that, but spending time with elders, showing them the beadwork, and looking at other examples of her beadwork, and looking at the way family patterns have been passed on within my family. We believe that this was hers, and that she beaded this for her sister to use for one of her babies. And this is a photo of one of my grandmothers. Her name was Doreen, Turning Robe Jacobs. She passed away about a month ago, and uh, that was a pretty big moment in my life, was losing her. She battled cancer for the past year, and this is a really lovely photo of her with two puppets, and I think she used these puppets to teach children some uh, valuable life lessons. And she passed away about a month ago, and she was someone really supported a lot of the work that I did and was very close to me, and um, was probably, out of everyone I've ever met, she's the closest thing I could think of, to what people say, what people say a saint is, or what people say, like, she's just the most kindest person and supportive, but she also wasn't, she was kind, but also very strong. Like, she didn't like to get pushed around, and she just really wanted to help others. And so I, a lot of the work that I've been doing this year has been centered around the theme of the residency, which is care. And so a lot, for probably the past 7 months, I've been really focusing on taking care of my own self and my own being and my wellness, and taking care of, helping to take care of my partner and my sibling and my mom and my family and just people in my immediate circle. And um, just like getting to be with my grandma when she passed away and getting to spend time with her. Like, I feel very fortunate that, throughout the pandemic, I was able to see her safely and spend time with her. And just remembering how she took care of all of the ones in her life has been something that I want to remember and honor and continue. And this is a photo of uh, when we were having the funeral service. They had a bunch of old photographs, and I really love old photos. And so there were some photos that I hadn't seen, and this was on my family's land on Weaselhead Road on Sutuna, which is now underneath the ring road, but this house is actually still standing. And if anyone drives on Sutuna Trail, depending on where you're headed, you could, like, if you're headed towards Signal Hill, you could still see this wooden house standing there. And this was the house that she was born in. And the child in the photo is her younger brother, my grandpa Jack. And I'm I don't know if he's wearing pants or not, but this photo is pretty funny because he was just known to always be very cheeky and a fun troublemaker. And so this photo really suits his character. And this is a photo of my Granny Macy when she was younger. And this is her standing at the front of that house with one of her siblings. And she's the one not holding a doll. And I thought this photo was very beautiful. And um, I was doing work, and then when my grandma passed away, I had to take even more of a break from doing work and doing art and things to really be there to help my family and make sure that my family was taken care of. And for my Granny Macy's children that were grieving and mourning, and I feel lucky that I got to assist and help them with the funeral. And I also was, I guess she had some last wishes, and some of her last wishes were to do some ceremonial protocols. And so I ended up doing those things at the funeral and at the wake and being there when she passed. And I wasn't expecting that responsibility, but I was very happy to offer it and to be there for my family. And so I think even when she was beginning to pass away, that she really wanted me to take care of my family and be there for all of them. And so that felt very nice and special to do. Um, this is a German guitar, probably because I've been home pretty much almost every day for a large portion of the pandemic. I've been actually pulling apart my guitars and cleaning them and taking care of them. And uh, I'm not someone who usually does that. Like I grew up playing music and going to punk shows and everything, so taking care of guitars uh, wasn't something that I often did. Like my guitars, some of them are pretty beat up, and actually I, I I've begun to pull them apart and clean them, put them back together, and like oil the fretboards. Like this is the fretboard of a guitar that I polished and oiled. And I never imagined I'd be that type of person to take care of their instrument in that way. Like I always thought of them as toys, toys. I guess toys in the way of like how children play with toys. And then now that I'm getting a little older, I've been starting to take care of them a bit more, especially this year. And it feels really nice. This was a guitar that I took apart and cleaned probably a couple days after we had the funeral for my Granny Macy. And I feel like this year, um, anytime I have something going on in my life and I feel overwhelmed, it feels really nice to just take one of my guitars and take care of it and fix it up and make sure that it's well taken care of. And feel like that's been the theme of my life this year, is just having things kind of fall apart and then putting them back together and taking care of them and working through them. This is a photo of taken that I took on Sutuna on the reserve, and I went up there and I filmed some of the land up here with my Super 8 camera. And this is it. This land that's in this photograph has such a intense history that I'm still understanding, because I grew up near it. Like I was very close to this land, where my family grew up. This land was like a 5-minute drive, and this land on Sutuna was leased to the army, I believe, for 99 years. I can't remember what exact year, but it was probably about like 1907 up until about 2007, that uh, around that timeline. And this land was leased to the army, to the Canadian Armed Forces. And there's a lot of history around how the government and the city pressured the nation into leasing this land to the army. And so it has a huge history of colonialism involved with it, and the nation was reluctant to lease the land originally um, until unfortunately they were pressured into saying yes. And so this land, like you can see the growth on it, and you see all of these like very magical, like they look like portals, like you can walk down those and enter them. But the land is still contaminated and damaged from the military being out there. Like if you're in Signal Hill and you look towards Sutuna, the reserve, you'll see this beautiful, in quotations, unused land. And the reason that the land doesn't have any developments or homes on it is because the army, it's contaminated from unexploded ordinances that the army used in training. So there's mines in the ground and different kinds of bombs that are in there. And there have been cases of in the past of people from Sutuna being injured, exploring that land and having come into contact with unexploded ordinances. But the land is extremely beautiful, and there's wild horses there, and all the animals that you can think of that live in the area, they all take shelter and live there. And it's really interesting to think that, you know, a land that you know, it's conflicting, but it's also like very nice to know that humans at least for a while, won't be able to sell or damage that land, and that the animals can find comfort and safety in living on that land, and that uh, no one's going to develop it anytime soon. And then this is a picture of me wearing a breastplate that me and my aunt made. And this was a nice project that my aunt asked for help editing a video, and in we did a trade. So I offered to help her and also share some family stories with her that she wanted to learn more about. And so she beaded these loops that you see on this. It's called a breastplate, and you can see the beaded loops. And I chose the colors gold and pink, and she beaded it really fast for me. And I put it together, and that felt like a really nice collaboration between the both of us. Um, it's art, but it's not art in the sense of what I'm used to making. I think that this year has really forced me to change my perspective on how I make and what I think about art. Um, you know, I this is something that I wear when I dance, and um, it's part of my regalia, and I put a lot of time and effort into that, and my aunt did, and it felt really nice to make something that wasn't just for the sole purpose of like. I feel like often in the past when I'd make things, I wanted a message to send to people and communicate, or like feelings to express, and I'd often be thinking like, okay, what's the best way I can communicate and express this idea uh, in a gallery setting or outside of a gallery setting, and making this breastplate. I wasn't thinking of any of those things. I was just thinking like, this is something that I want for myself, and I'm gonna make it for myself with the help of my aunt, because I don't know how to bead, and she's an amazing beader. She's an amazing, probably the best bead artist I know. Recently I went to Head Smashed in Buffalo Jump, and they have this exhibition of photographs, and I've done a lot of research in the past 4 years. I've visited archives and museums across Canada, and have done a lot of research on old photographs. And this one talks about how so I think they said that a lot of the people in the photographs they still don't know the identities of, and they weren't able to. I think they put a call out saying that if anyone can help them identify anyone in the pictures, to reach out to them. And I don't know how recently, like if they update the information as they get information on photographs, like if they then attach names to them. But I saw this one photograph. It says photographer's caption Sarsi Indian, and I've been meaning to. What I'm gonna do in the future soon is I want to email them and send them the name of who's in this photograph, because the person in this photograph is his name is Crow Collar, and that was his Tsuut'ina name, and I think his Blackfoot name was Astokumi. I don't know if I'm saying that right or wrong, but I I saw the photo and I knew who it was immediately, based off of the research I've done of photographs, and so I've been planning to reach out to them and tell them who it is and see if I hear back from them. And this is another photo of him. This is a photo that is in my collection that I've scanned, and I believe it's from the same era. I'm not too sure if it's Ernest Brown. Oh yeah, so they're taken by two different photographers, but in the late 1800s and early 1900s, there are a lot of photographs of Tsuut'ina people, especially by the two photographers, Ernest Brown and Byrne and May. And so this is another photograph of him. I have actually quite a few, and so I was easily able to identify that the same person. And then this is in Head Smash and Buffalo Jump. This kind of gave me some ideas for a future project, but it talks about how people at different buffalo jump sites were excavating. They began to excavate those sites and they took the whatever bones they could find of the buffalo from these different sites, and they were using them for all kinds of things. They used the bones. I read in one of them that they used them for artillery, which I thought was really interesting, especially with the connection of the military and Sutuna. And so that's kind of giving me some ideas for a future project. And this is, I took this photo recently. This is a photo of my dad. And I haven't traveled or entered any other countries. I've been very safe during the pandemic and pretty precautious because I live with my grandparents and I want to keep them safe. And so I don't even go and eat in restaurants. But this is a photograph of my dad on the American side of the border. And a couple of weeks ago, I was in Waterton and it was pretty close to the border. So I was talking to my dad and I haven't seen him in a couple of years now because of the pandemic, because he lives in Montana on the Blackfeet Reserve. And so I was like, because I'm a status Indian, I'm going to see if I can cross the border to visit my dad. And I made it across the border, and this is a photograph I took of him after not having seen him in 2 years. And he took a photo of me with his phone. You can see him holding his phone. And we were both really happy to see each other. And literally right beside the border crossing there, dad has land and he has over like 80 head of white buffalo. And that it was amazing. I didn't know if I'd make it across the border. I made it across and saw my dad. My dad's been pretty isolated this year as well. He's been very COVID safe. And so he drove me like 2 minutes away from the border crossing to his land where he has the buffalo. And I went out there and got to see a lot of them. They just came over. They were super friendly. And that was amazing. Like these are some photos, and in the background you can see Chief Mountain, and that's named after, on my dad's side, on my Blackfeet side, that's named after our ancestor. And so very close to that mountain, my dad has these buffalo, white buffalo in our culture and in a lot of First Nations cultures are very important and very have a lot of spiritual meaning. And so I got to talk to my dad a bit and ask him about how he takes care of the buffalo and help him take care of them. We got to feed them and water them. I took some videos and photos. And so there's some more photos of them, and also shot on Super 8 film a bunch of footage of the buffalo and of Chief Mountain. And actually, like the Super 8 camera, when you like click it to shoot film, it makes a really loud clicking sound. It's like it sounds like an old projector as well. And you can hear the film winding in it. And I started filming this one buffalo standing there with her baby, and her baby was a tiny white baby. And I was filming them, and then they walked right up to me, and the mom walked right up to me and started licking my hands, holding the camera. And I'm really hoping that my film camera caught it. So I'm excited to get my film developed to see what I captured. And it just felt very angelic and very, very beautiful that day. And then these are some more photos of them. they were all very friendly and not scary at all. Like if they walk up to you, they're not gonna hurt you. But um, I wouldn't suggest standing around the bulls. The older men, they're very protective. And this is a photo on my dad's land with the buffalo. And what you see on the other side of the fence is the Canadian side, is Canada. So that's Canada on the other side of this fence. And then on this side of the fence is my dad's land with his buffalo. And so I shot on Super 8. He was like, "Oh, if you want to film, you can actually put your arm through the fence and like say part of you is in Canada and the other part of you is in America." And it's just very strange and also sad just how much this little tiny fence means, like, and how, you can't even, if you jump that fence, like, you'll get charged and get in a lot of trouble. And just how just the history of colonialism in Canada and the United States, and how my dad is separated by the border, and his tribe is part of the Blackfoot Confederacy, but they're separated by this border and divided. And there's just so much history, and also just a lot of evil. But I got I got to see this fence. Like, it doesn't even look that important, or that even that protective, really. Like, it's not even a huge fence, but that's the border fence. And then this is a picture of a bull. He was also very friendly and nice. Um, that's another photo of him. Here's some more photos of some brown ones. I think I have a couple videos. Oh yeah, this is a photo of a buffalo's butt. You can see their little tail. Pretty cute. Um, this is a photo of my dad. I got to help him water a smaller part of his herd. He has a huge herd, and then in this one little area, they need to be watered every day. And so every day that I was there for a little less than a week, and we went out there and watered the buffalo twice a day, and spent a couple of hours each time we went out there to water them and take care of them. And they're all very nice and friendly. Some of the older bulls would fight over the water, but then we'd spend so much time out there, everyone we get a chance to drink some water. And this is the area where he's like working on building more water systems for them, because his other herd has there's some like springs and other bodies of water that they can drink from, but on this side he has to come and water them. So it was really nice to be able to take care of them. I'll play this little video. I don't know, there's one where you can see a buffalo pooping, so heads up. Yeah, I don't know if that put clearly or not, but here's another video that I took. This is one that it approached me and I got to touch its head. And I was trying to see if I could pet it again, but it wasn't interested. And right there you can see the bull coming in and showing his strength. And their buffalo are extremely fast moving, and they don't, like, you'd think because of their big head and their big bodies that they'd be slow. And no, they're they're so fast and powerful, and um, they, yeah, I can't even describe it. And this is a video of watering one of them. Sorry, I don't know if that was allowed on your folks' end. That was loud on mine. And then I think this is the last video I took. So that is the end of that. And so, yeah, I feel like usually when I work on projects and do things, they usually have like a concept, and they usually come out in like one big way, and I can imagine things being in a gallery and like existing within a gallery space. But I feel like everything I've done this year has been like helping myself or helping my family on a more personal level, or that it's like really hard to think of like it's just been such a different way to approach making things and interacting with things. And it feels really nice because I know sometimes I'll like go into a museum or go into an archive. I'm going to be like, I'm going to take pictures of this thing, I'm going to document this thing, and then it's going to come out as this thing. And I feel like when I got to go to the museum this year, and I was very limited in how I could interact with objects and see things, because the photos that I took, they were just whatever was on display to the general public. And I felt like I really got to appreciate it in a way of, I think it's also related to the pandemic, where I'm like, I'm looking at this thing and I don't know the next time I'm going to be able to travel again and even just look at this thing. And so I feel like that's kind of how this year has been. And even like working on this project, I'm really excited to get all of my film developed. I think I shot like 6 or 7 rolls. So far I'm hoping to shoot 10. And I yeah, it's gonna be exciting to see everything that comes out, because I usually go in with a more cohesive plan. And then with this one, it was kind of like, you know, like I didn't expect to see my dad's buffalo and to be able to see him. And so I filmed him with my Super 8 camera too. I was like, it's like, I don't know if the border is gonna close anytime soon again. So I like filmed him, and I was like, I just really want to like capture you how you are now and have that, so I could even like show, you know, who knows what happens in this world and in the future, but I'll have this really nice footage of you that I can show my family in the future. Yeah, that's the stuff I wanted to talk about and share.